we launch all the other platforms, and we'll have this classical round of announcements, as you remember. So let me drop a picture to myself. And episode 20. I think I'll stop doing this after some time. I don't know, because people don't subscribe to the channel. I mean, those who are like followers on Instagram or on VK, like there aren't any new people from there almost. So I think everyone who wanted already joined, and the others, I think, just probably just don't want to, not interested enough. But still, I think several other times.
It's good to remind from time to time.
Yeah, but it creates a lot of hassle that I don't want. I mean, it's just it creates problems, and
Sure.
so I mean, I think people need to understand that if they want to get notifications, they should subscribe on the relevant places. And yeah, Otto, hello, welcome to the stream.
Big good evening to you too.
Yes. Another meme.
Yeah, I mean it's not a meme. It's like, well, continuation of a big high meme, I guess. Notifications are late sometimes. Well, we just started. We haven't missed anything. I think I hear a little bit of myself. I'm not sure if I'm hearing it from your headphones.
There shouldn't be.
I don't know how it happens, but I hear some echo.
I have literally no idea how that could be possible if I'm wearing headphones.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
Streams are, I mean, muted, I guess.
Yeah, I actually already also stopped it to check, but still. Well, Otto says that audio is good, so hopefully there are no echo.
Let me just finish with VK. Pam. Oh my god. Like this. It's better. Now let me repost to the communities. Okay, VK is all good. Next, thank you for feedback, Otto. That's actually very much appreciated, because it's important to know that we are good with the sound. Now, what else?
Yeah, same levels, hopefully.
I'm sorry?
Same levels of loud.
OBS shows that, yeah, we are on the same level. The indicators indicate. So, surprisingly, they do. So let me post a notification on Instagram also. The announcement rather. And then we are going to begin. This VPN thing.
As I remember, sometimes it doesn't really work. Like it takes some time.
Actually, I cannot complain about the one that I use. It's a Planet VPN, very,
Mm.
very stable, and so
I remember it wasn't stable when I was like using it this summer when I was, yeah.
mhm. Almost done.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Mhm. No, I think it's the last time I'm doing this because it's actually infuriating because I want to like properly start the stream, but I mean not infuriating, okay, but
Maybe I
it's
can take this
no, I mean,
Instagram thing and just.
but I mean I have to like on my pages it has to be me, right? And so
I mean, you can repost my post. We are both
I
podcasting, I
still
think,
will
right?
have to launch VPN, and I mean it's like even thinking about that fact that something hasn't been done actually massively disturbs the process, and
Mm.
ideally all preparations have to be outside the stream, and it's impossible in these circumstances. So yeah, people, if you want to get notifications, please subscribe, and that will help you get to stay in the loop, that is. So I also need to open my all that I could do beforehand, but I did not. I sometimes forget.
The chat.
Yeah, the chats on YouTube, the chat, and and
Mm-hmm.
and on Twitch. My second
Do you use
laptop.
like different ones,
I
different
have
windows?
I have no choice because like the service that was really convenient, Restream.io, doesn't work in
Mm-hmm.
Russia, and
Oh,
so
does that work?
2 years ago.
Mm. I didn't
Yes.
know because I haven't streamed for a while, but I remember I used to use Restream. It was very convenient to have
It's
all the platforms in
extremely
one.
convenient, yeah, because they also unify the chat messages, and so I do
Yes.
have this ship chat application, but it's not like I haven't tried actually, but I think it's not person. I mean, I cannot open it on both computers. I think maybe I can, but I haven't tried, and they didn't respond to my message if I can. Doesn't matter. Some technical details. It's hard to explain. So they just didn't respond to my message when I asked something. So we have everything set up. I guess the stream is running. The chats are open. I need to see the timer. Yeah, 8 minutes. Not bad. Usually it's be what under 10 minutes. We have this setup
Mhm.
stage. There is a message on Telegram, but no, that's just some channel messages, irrelevant. So we can begin the recording and start and have the official start, I guess.
Let's do.
All right. Well, hello and welcome, everyone. Here is our weekly Thursday podcast, and we have Nancy here and me, Andy. Nancy, hello. Welcome to the stream.
Hello. Hello.
We are in, I think, episode 3, which is actually
Yes.
episode 20, but it's just that my series Bonfire Talks have been different, and I just thought that I should unify them as some kind of common name. But this exact kind of series where we talk with my sister, it's the 3rd episode, and
It actually gave me like got me an idea of like bonfire talks are never the same.
Mm.
Whenever you come to buy a bonfire, you're not gonna meet the same people there probably if it's like a big campaign or something. So that's actually fixed, I think.
Oh, I haven't
And
thought
maybe
about
a
it. Wow.
bonfire also moves, you know, you hike, you go around, like you set a bonfire, new people every time from
Mm.
different places around the world. So it fits.
That's a fascinating interpretation. Thank you. I shall remember that because it's actually true. I mean, a bonfire never stays the same, neither the environment nor the bonfire itself. So here we go. We are kind of flexible and ever changing, mutable, and so on and so forth. I should have a disclaimer, I guess. I'm kind of lagging, as I think some tired condition kind of gets at me, and I might be not as adequate as I should, but I'll be trying. I'll be trying my best. I promise. It's we have some interesting topic today to discuss, and I need to really concentrate for that. I also have my pipe. I'm not sure whether I'm going to use it, but probably I will, just to kind of entertain myself and get some positive emotion from it. How are you, Nancy? How do you feel today?
Quite fine. I've been struggling with headaches lately. So vacation hasn't started like very fun, I would say, but it definitely helps that I have days free of work, so I can rest and do some other stuff when I feel better. Yeah. So
Actually, do tell about your vacation because you've had how many? Already 6 days of it, right?
oh, don't scare me like
Ah, I'm
that.
sorry.
Yeah. Well, so the weekends were good. We went out of the city. It was quite nice to just enjoy the nature, the road trip. It's quite recharging. After that, yeah, I've been like mostly at home. I haven't gotten to go for walks yet, like to the park. I haven't gotten to that.
Mhm.
Mostly due to headaches or other plans. I still like, and when I wake up, I still can't decide when I should go for a walk. And I keep thinking like, well, today I have gym as well, so that's my walk. I don't want to over exercise. I don't want to get too tired. So sometimes it's just, yeah, I still can't decide when to go, but I hope that next days I will find ideas for that. Yeah, but otherwise, it's been quite good. I've been reading a lot and just resting, which is, I guess, important on vacation, and doing some personal like development stuff. Yeah.
Mhm. So, how would you rate your vacation so far on a scale of 0 to 10?
Well, comparing to my summer vacation that took place last year,
Hmm.
that this vacation is definitely, well, it would be very sad to rate it because, well, it's also very different. It's not really a vacation. I would say it's maybe for now it's like, well, maybe only 50% successful
Mm-hmm.
based on my plans for this vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have another week or so to fix that.
You have
And
two
I hope
weeks
this,
in total, like
yes, yes.
vacation.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes. So
Mm-hmm.
I have next week as well. And I hope that headache will go away and I'll be able to function
Mm-hmm.
as normal. Yeah.
What's the origin, not the origin, the cause of the headache? What do you think?
Have no idea yet.
Mm-hmm.
Have no idea. Gonna check this out with doctors, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And but I already cut down the coffee because I think it started with drinking too much coffee. I got back to drinking like 2 or 3 cups of coffee again, which is definitely not a good idea ever. So now I'm back to not drinking coffee at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, if we are on the topic of health talks a bit, this week I also had headaches, but they were pleasant if that could be pleasant thing. And they
Pleasant.
were pleasant for a reason. So I had been experiencing high blood pressure again because I stopped taking my medication, as you remember, in December. And so my condition was kind of worsening because my blood pressure was rising and rising, and I actually felt like a bubble a bit, like kind of constantly under pressure in my head as well. And I got some kind of even my hearing was affected because at some points I couldn't, like, I felt this kind of pressure inside. And so I talked to my student who is a cardiologist, and I returned to one of the drugs that I take, that I used to take. And now I'm taking it, and my blood pressure went down considerably. And I think that's how, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I might be imagining things, but I thought that because my blood pressure decreased, blood vessels were contracting, and that caused pain in my head. And that was pleasant sensation because for me that signalized that my blood was leaving my brain and stopped pumping like crazy there. And so I was like, wow, it's working. So it was pleasant.
Well, hopefully it will be pleasant without headaches as well. The
Well,
effect continues.
interestingly, I've always, it's another strange fact about me, I've always loved headaches, always, because they actually kind of pacified me, kind of stopped this constant machine from calculating everything, and just kind of restrained my computer. And
Like lets you take a break or something.
I'm sorry.
Like they let you take a break or something.
Yeah, like kind of sweet oblivion, you know. And headaches are a rarity to me, so maybe that's why I can say this thing. But yeah, that my attitude to this phenomenon has always been positive. Actually, I have friends who suffer from migraines, and they say it's an awful, terrible thing to experience.
Yeah.
So probably there is some kind of, I'm not. I mean, I don't mean to be cynical. It's just genuinely what I feel. Whenever I have a headache, I actually feel very comfortable.
Are you able to function when you have a headache?
Yes, but just too standard, you know, like not more, not less. I can fulfill my obligations, and then I'll just kind of like, I've done my thing. I can lie and rest and do nothing and think of nothing. It's very enjoyable. It's like having a high temperature, which is another my favorite condition. So, as you can see, I'm myself.
Yeah.
I'm a big escapist, but my escapist methods are slightly extreme.
Oh, for me, it's usually more frustrating because I typically, well, still have to finish job and stuff, but I mean, if it's not too bad of headache or something, but then you don't get to do your own things, so it's frustrating because after job, I already planned to learn something, to read, to go for a walk, and because of headache, you get this restrictions, which is definitely frustrating. And yeah, yesterday I was completely out of the whole evening. I couldn't do anything, and yeah, but it's also followed with like a lot of dizziness, like and all other kind of things, not just headache. So yeah, but the temperature I kind of can relate. I guess I like sometimes having a high temperature, just cozy feeling, cozy times. But at the same time, they feel awful, but they somehow feel cozy as well.
Yeah,
I
it's.
guess it depends on also depends on your uh, environment and the level of safety you feel.
I think it's a bizarre attitude, but at the same time, maybe it has something to do with my intention and desire to control everything. And when I am out of control objectively, that brings me this sense of relief. Like now I cannot control, and so I can just relax and
Ah,
yield to the situation, and so I don't have to exert myself. I don't have to show discipline, and like I can
yeah.
just go with the flow that my organism has established, and even if
Almost like yeah,
even if I wanted to, I could not. So
yeah. Like well, socially acceptable excuse, I would say.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah. At first, I thought about like the control and feeling control. I thought you're gonna go to the like. Obviously, we don't like headaches and we don't want to have headaches. But if you tell that you like headaches, they're no longer your like your enemies. Like you thought you're gonna hurt me, but I actually like you. So
Mm.
that's how you gain control again. Like you change
Mm.
your
I see.
attitude towards that.
I
Yeah, I
see.
thought you would go there.
Um, that maybe is possible, but I haven't considered that. So, um, I thought we can maybe jump straight to the topic that we plan to discuss today. That
Yes, I feel like I haven't asked you how are you. I'm not sure I remember that, but you kind of introduced it yourself, I think, as well.
um, I'm sorry.
I feel like I haven't asked you how are you doing.
Oh yeah. Well, it's been all right. Another hard working week, and what? Yeah. So I already told you tomorrow is my first in a long period of time day off. Like I, I work 7 days a week, and my last vacation was a year and 2 months ago already, and so I have lessons both on weekdays and weekend. That's why it's hard for me to find some kind of a day of rest. And it's a rarity. It's a huge rarity, and I don't remember when it was last time. I mean, like not counting days when I flew in December, for example, or like had a journey, because those were also kind of difficult. So I wouldn't be able I won't be able to recall even. So I'm quite looking forward to tomorrow, unless something just arises and it happens that my students ask me like, can we transfer? But so far it's 11:30 p.m, so nobody has requested a lesson tomorrow, and we have International Women's Day tomorrow, so probably nobody wants to study on that day that much, at least. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
hopefully you'll
mhm.
yeah. Hopefully you will keep your day off.
Yeah, it looks like that. And also, I've been streaming The Sims 3 this week, and had some nice adventures in China, then in Egypt, and fought mummies.
Have you
Um,
managed to bring mommy home?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I launched a stream yesterday for 1 hour, hoping that I'll use the final days of my adventure in Egypt to find the missing canopic jars that are required to raise a mummy. But unfortunately, I only have 4 out of 5, and I'll need to come back to Egypt and look for the final one. I mean, I'm very, very tempted to just ditch the quest, because it's so uninspiring and so, how to call it, it's devoid of excitement, because I want to do something different. I want to build a new house, a new lot, a new project, but I have to look for this freaking canopic jar. But I think I should try at least once more, because that would be quite a show to have a mummy on my lot. So yeah, I'll be trying
Yes, definitely.
to have a closure there. So the topic that I mentioned already arose, I'm sorry, last time when we were having a post-stream feedback session with Nancy. And it's hard to explain what exactly the question is. So I wanted to suggest presenting just what you said and what I said, like what is the typical situation, or what are the typical situations that we were talking about. So it started. How did it start? It's like that meme. Could you describe that meme pattern?
Yeah, so it started from like a discussion where I commented that not always in a discussion you come for like advice or solutions for problems. Sometimes you come for just talking it through and getting like I don't know, support or whatever. And I think I've seen memes about that. Like often women experience that when they come to their partners to share some problem, something that happened to them, and immediately get solutions for that, logical responses, and get upset because they want to get just the support and they already know how to solve their problems, but they're just used to discussing that. I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but that's what I experienced, and I think that's how I typically socialize with my female friends. We definitely just talk stuff through, and if we need advice, we share it. So, and I think I even recently I like saw this reel where there was like two cats. You know, not right now there's like meme with cats are very popular. This like animated cats and stuff. And there was like a meme where like when you come to your boyfriend with your problem and he gives you like logical solutions, and the cat, who is like supposedly a girl, is screaming. um yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I guess that fits to that category probably of memes.
Mm-hmm. So the problem here on one side is that a girl, a young lady comes to, or just a lady comes to her boyfriend and talks about her problems at work and like in life, and instead of just listening, the boyfriend starts giving advice. That's that's where we started our discussion. So I was triggered by that because like how I saw that, well, actually there are several things that I wanted to mention here. The first thing, I guess that in theory, I don't see any problem with sharing for emotional support. I mean, like, if it is discussed by people, and I did that myself in past, like, are you telling me this story for emotional support or for advice? And then you just follow according to what the person says. So that's kind of I think it's kind of healthy communication.
You
So
mean like clarifying exactly when you get a rant
yeah,
probably.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Then you ask like, what do you want me to answer? Like, what
Yes.
do you want to? Yeah. I
Because
also did that with my friends sometimes, like, and they did it to me as well. Sometimes it's just easier to communicate like that.
so now about unhealthy scenarios, I mean, what I was kind of triggered by is how gender biased this meme is, because and I have my own example of a gender biased meme in the opposite direction. So, but before that, I want to share my own life experience. So I was in a relationship that was like more than 10 years ago, and there the pattern would be that the girl would tell me like her day from start to end, like her home problem, then her university problems, then her like personal thoughts, and that would take like 2-3 hours straight every evening that we met, and we met quite often. And so after some time, I really humbly asked if that could be shorter, because not because I was tired, but I actually wanted to share something about my day, or like just to kind of spend time together, not talking about her life, not because I didn't appreciate that but I mean, it's like what I want to say here is like it's if you only tell retrospectively what's happening to you, then you don't have time to leave now or don't have time to plan because we only have so much time. And so when I
Mm-hmm.
said that, it was a huge. So she was offended like hell, and she actually ignored me for 2 weeks after that. I was kind of a persona non grata after that. Um, and so over the course of time, I learned that she wasn't actually interested in what was happening in my life that much, and well, I listened to a lot of her stories, like kind of I knew everything she did. I mean, I can give her that. She was a very really great narrator, really great narrator. Like she could tell me the story, the plot of the movie that she watched recently, and I was like, wow. I mean, like we were on the bus, for example, and for 30 minutes that we were on the bus, she would be telling me that story from start to end, and I was really marveling at this skill. But at the same time, like if something tries to do that now, I wouldn't react friendly, I should say. I mean, it's just I don't really care that much. I have my own interests, and so it's a
What do
like
you mean? You wouldn't
like
appreciate what?
if somebody tries to tell me about the plot of a film for 30 minutes straight without my consent to do that, I would be
Mm-hmm.
surprised. So I also had a friend, I wanted to share this story, who we hadn't been in touch for some while, like a year or two, and maybe a bit more even. And then he once said, like, can I come to your office and we can talk? And so we could talk, and I thought something had happened. And so he came to my office. I was after my lessons, I was really tired, but I thought something had occurred to him, and I mean something had happened to him, and um, so he was like talking for 2 hours straight about his life, about his work, about concerts he attended, and there was no problem. Like he just shared the news, and when he stopped, I was incredulous. Like I was actually, I don't know, I was dumbfounded. I was absolutely bewildered. Like, dude, like you come to my office out of nowhere and you just tell me the news about your life, and you don't even ask a single time for these 2 hours how I have been. Like not a single like if I'm comfortable listening to you, if I'm even like tired, or I mean there was no signal, like indication of his um interest in whether I was ready to receive all that flow of information, all that those tons of information. And so that's another example of an extreme kind of, I would say, toxic sharing, the way I would put it. Another thing I want
Did
to,
you did you somehow like asked what was happening?
no, I kept it to myself. I haven't ever told him about this, but I just distanced
Mm-hmm.
myself from him slightly. And I recently
Mm-hmm.
met with him in the summer, I think, and we went for a walk. And I mean, I understand. So he just doesn't ask questions. He's one of these people who don't ask questions, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. But
Like you
the
have to tell yourself.
yes, and usually I will not
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think the person is interested by default. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's that that other aspect is that for me males are not really well trained at self-expression. Well, if speaking about myself, so I have negative background in that matter. Like I was literally taught to keep to myself, to keep my information to myself, and I don't also want to burden others with my stories, and so I will keep silent unless I'm asked, or unless I'm very sure that the person is interested. Um, Another thing I want to bring here is that meme where a guy is lying on a bed and he's texting a girl. The next slide is she says, like he asks, "How was your day?" And she says, "My day was terrible." And he thinks, when will this bad word have a good day? It is his thought, and then he types, okay, what happened? And so it might look toxic. It might look toxic, and I've been thinking for this for 2 days now. But actually, I thought, so is not is using people for like as listeners about your problems toxic itself? Is it not toxic? I mean, let me try and formulate that. Like, like there is some kind of impression when I communicate with some people that their life consists only of problems. And with some partners of mine, it looked like that. Like because our conversations were not like, my day was exciting, or I did some certain cool things today, or like, look, I have some project on my mind. No, it was just like enumerating problems one by one. Like, this person said this, that person did that, I was offended. And it was like sharing all the negativity. And well, first of all, I did not do that myself. And secondly, okay, where's the other half? Like, is your life only pure suffering? Then, well, mine is not. Mine is not. And a lot of people's lives are not. So maybe I'm just with the wrong person. Maybe I don't want to be with you. And like, maybe there are specialists who get who charge you for such service, listening to bad stories. But and I'm kind of this specialist also in some points of my career. But being a teacher, I listen to a lot of stories, and so I think people pay me for that too. So that would be
Just wanna.
yeah, that would be all what I wanted to kind of say. It's a lot. I'm sorry, it's a lot, but I just was afraid to forget. We can pick each and
Yeah, let's like
deconstruct.
slowly unwrap.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, about first about the professional listening to bad stories. I don't think there is such a profession. Like, there is no such task to just listen to bad
Okay.
stories.
Legit. Yes.
It's never a profession. Like psychologists and psychiatrists, they try to help. They're not there just to listen. And I think we also discussed that saying to your friends, like, I don't want to listen to your problems, go to the therapist, is like, does feel toxic a little bit. Or if we don't want to use this word toxic, we can just say it doesn't feel friendly, or doesn't feel like you care for this person. At least for me. I think I would only do that if like the problem occurs again and again, and we both are incompetent to solve it somehow, but we want to solve it. So that's like, well, maybe let's go find a professional. The same we would do like if you have like heart problems or you broke a leg. You also like, well, it's a broken leg. Let's go to a professional probably, or like with a broken leg, let's just call for a professional, not go somewhere. Yeah. About the as you were talking, I keep thinking that mostly it's just a problem of communication, I would say, and problem of self-discipline as well. I think many people, I'm probably too in the past, I'm not sure, and even sometimes right now, you tend to focus on bad stuff because bad stuff are quite attention, like not driving, but well, they drive your attention to themselves, like the problems. They feel bad, you feel awful, you naturally focus on that. And it is discipline to be able to notice anything good in your life. It's there are practices like of writing like what's good happened during the day, or like last week, or what am I grateful for, or whatever. And I think it's not out of nowhere people are taught to do this, because, well, they don't do it at all. They just focus on bad stuff, and they have to learn how to focus on good stuff as well. And maybe that's the reason when you talk to some people, they just don't share any good stuff, because maybe bad stuff just feels feel heavier, like, rather than good stuff that happens in their lives.
I'm listening. I'm just responding to sorry to messages on Good Game, because Miker is restreaming me again, and I think we have some extra people here listening. So if you are talking to us, then please kindly use English, because, well, it's an English stream today. It's usually an English stream. And yeah, the person just said that I smoked my pipe in a very fancy manner. So I want to thank you for this commentary, and please proceed. So that was a nice thought, that people, as I understood, sorry, like by default, people will talk about negative things and omit positive things,
Not
because
by default. Yeah, it depends on how you were raised, how you were like learned to think of stuff. But in my like, I remember I had to do this practice of writing down what good happened during this day. When I was more depressed, it was very hard to remember. And sometimes I remember the maximum good thing that happened during the day was just playing with my cats. That's all I could remember good about my day. So, and there was a lot of stuff that was bad. So obviously, if you ask me how I'm doing, I don't think I would start with like, well, I played with my cats today, because also it's a routine. I play with my cats, yeah, like every day I used to play. So naturally, you want to talk about something that's bothering you. Also, sometimes I think we're maybe not taught to share our successes, our good stuff, because it might feel like we are bragging. It might feel like sometimes it's kind of like superstition. Like, if you talk about good stuff, you're gonna break your luck, and like, you're not gonna get the good stuff anymore. Or if you talk about the projects that you're excited about in the future, you're also not gonna do them. So naturally, all you're left to tell about is just the routines and maybe bad stuff as well. Also because, for example, I use it sometimes as a like a way to break the ice in a conversation, especially with new people. I think I did it at workplace. I sometimes tell something about, like, tell about something that I struggle with, something relatable, so that I'm not on some like level far away from this person, but I show that I actually do struggle with something. I'm not like perfect. I'm not happy. Sometimes it's easier to relate to each other through our problems rather than successes, or like happy times or something like that. So I think that's also the reason why we tend to share bad stuff. But I think generally it's just about communication in your relationship and with anyone. That's what I learned to do lately. Like, if I'm not happy with how the conversation is going, I either do it during the conversation. I try to like ask questions, or maybe some post feedback messages, or like questions after until the next conversation, trying to understand what was happening, how what the person wanted to say. And I also noticed, like, often when I talk to people, like I'm afraid that I will share something, like some of my problems too much, and I feel quite awful about it. Yet I can't stop myself from doing that. Sometimes it's I don't know. It's especially like with friends, mostly obviously with close friends. Because I want them to know my whole life. I don't want them to know just the parts of my life. But then there is obviously the limits to that. when it becomes like just useless rumination rather than just sharing stuff. Yes. And I quite relate to your feeling of when you said that, like, well, when a person tells to you about problems and you say, well, isn't there anything good in your life? I quite often feel that when often you hear from people like they are tired, even though I can believe that people are tired, yet somehow I get very much annoyed when every time I meet with a person, they say like, I'm tired. And I'm like, what else is new? Which is quite aggressive, I would say, from my side. And obviously there are reasons, but I'm always, if that happened way too many times, I think I will just come up and ask like, so what's happening? Why are you always tired? Like, want to talk about it, or like, why are you telling that, and some stuff like that. Not sure how aggressive is that, but in my belief, having those conversations is better rather than not, if you want to maintain relationship with the person.
Could we have a logical break here, because I want to respond to the chat messages, if it
Of
is
course, sure.
like, will it not interrupt your thought?
No.
Okay, then I'm going to first of all greet the seventh trumpet on Twitch. Very interesting nickname. It's the first time chatter, and welcome to the channel. Maybe you have been here, but it's the first time you participated in the conversation. So I greet you warmly. Enjoy the show. And also the person wrote, language as such can describe much, if anything. Well, that's an interesting thought. We might touch upon that also. But I think we'll have...
Can you repeat that, please? I haven't got it.
Language as such can't describe much, if anything. I think we need to repeat the topic that we're discussing here, just because people need to be contextualized.
Yes, sure.
And I'll do that in English and in Russian also, because on Good Game I have another person who shared a commentary. So I'll begin with Russian. Мы говорим про динамику, когда девушка подходит к парню и начинает рассказывать про проблемы. Он такой начинает советовать, что с ними делать. Она такая, я вообще-то хотела просто поделиться, мне не нужны твои советы. Прошу прощения, переключаюсь на английский автоматически, чтобы перевести, да. И из этого вырастает конфликт. И мы разбираем эту ситуацию, то есть как это выглядит со стороны девушек, как это выглядит со стороны парней, что парни, наоборот, делиться не хотят и не понимают, зачем вообще об этом разговаривать, если не включать режим советчика. Вот. Что касается...
И решение проблемы.
Да. Что касается комментария Локи 88, я боюсь, что... Я понимаю немножко, о чем ты говоришь, вот, но я боюсь, что это, наверное, не совсем в нашу тему комментарий. Вот. И все-таки обычно у меня стримы на английском, поэтому мы будем держаться английского языка. Вот. Лучше будет, если ты как-то через Google Translate, может быть, или через Яндекс.Переводчик будешь скидывать, чтобы остальные тоже могли видеть, что ты пишешь, потому что переводить я, не могу, это будет сильно сбивать динамику стрима. Вот. Но, да, спасибо большое за участие, нам приятно твое мнение и твое присутствие на нашей трансляции. So, and now back to English. The topic is when ladies go to their boyfriends and share a problem, and boyfriends start advising, and the lady says, I didn't share to get your advice, I know what I should do. I only shared to get some emotional support. And a conflict arises out of that. While the boyfriend might think, well, I don't want to share my problems. Why would you share your problems if you don't want them solved, if you don't want advice about those? And so we are trying to deconstruct this topic and get to some kind of, I don't know what we're trying to get here. I guess like how to diffuse the situation, how to approach it ecologically, I guess.
Well, yes, I remember when we talked about it, we just had, emotional reactions, first of all.
Yeah.
So that's where it got interesting. And I guess, the goal is to come up with some, well, first of all, just to discuss it, then come up with some ways to approach it, because I'm not sure like that you were agreeing with me about discussing problems very much, or as I got it back then when we were discussing that. So maybe it's our goal is to answer the question: can you and should you discuss your problems with your partner, and in what ways? I would say it like that.
You know, while you were speaking, I thought that for me the most triggersome thing was discrimination of the male part of the relationship. So it's like I agree that you should, of course. I mean, I was listening to James Hollis, his book that I mentioned before, and his second chapter is about relationship, and he said something like in a healthy relationship you can like it was about projecting, like in an unhealthy relationship you will try to colonize another person, like you will try to make another person yourself, like you will try to make your partner the same as you, which is wrong path, because all people are absolutely unique. And so in a healthy relationship you should help your partner become him or herself, your partner should help you become yourself, and you can expect to have common responsibilities, common duties, like shared duties, shared sex life, and shared emotions and labors of the day, and so on and so forth. So that you can count on. So in a healthy relationship, of course, we have discussions and we share problems. But I think I was triggered mostly by this kind of one-sided representation of this meme. Well, the meme I brought to light is also kind of discriminatory because like, well, it's not that simple, of course. But I mean, the question is, I think it's not probably sex-oriented, I mean gender-oriented. It's like you cannot expect by default that people will be ready to listen to your problems, because I will not talk about my problems by default. I will just not do that because I think it's not, well, I mean, they're not my therapists. They're not my, like, I don't want to burden them with that. I have a commentary again. We can draw a lot of interesting conclusions from this fact if we give our minds free rein, but perhaps it's important to first know what type of problem we are talking about. It's a purely pragmatic issue, or dealing with the most inner feelings repressed to the depth of our soul, which we can hardly explain ourselves. Wow, that's quite a text.
That's quite. Do you want to respond to that?
I'm trying to get to the bottom of the message. I like the self analysis. Next message is really self analysis. I like, so I'll focus on this purely pragmatic issue. I think that would be a good phrase here. So it's a pragmatic issue. I mean, in a way that we should analyze each situation. Like maybe somebody abuses this opportunity to share pains. Maybe
exactly what I wanted to. I wanted to remind that in our conversation a week ago, you used the phrase, "Isn't it an emotional terrorism?" or something like that.
I could
Coming up to your partner and making a person listen to your problems. Isn't it an act of terrorism, terrorizing your partner? Which, well, I don't really agree with that. But obviously, when we are talking about it, we should say where are the limits, and the limits cannot be the same. It cannot be a rule. Like you can talk about your problems to your partner only 10 times, like only 10 times a day, 10 minutes a day, or whatever. Like it's.
No, wait, listen.
Yes. So yeah, I think it's obviously for every part, like every couple to discuss. It's not only about couple. It's about any relationship, anything. You always have to just approach it like a partnership, like your business. Your relationship is your business. You build it together. as well, I think. So, um,
You know, our
yes, I'm
father,
trying.
our father never talked about his problems at work, you know, and I don't think it did him good. I mean, and I take after him a lot in that matter. Like, I will not talk about my problems. And it's actually very, very dangerous because I literally tell my partners always, like, please ask questions. Because if you don't ask questions, I will not tell. If I'll not talk. If I don't talk, I will hoard my emotions. And after I reach some stage where my um, my roof starts crackling, starts kind of erupting, it will be very hard to suppress this flow. Like you will, like you will actually see the true me, like the true emotional outburst. Like there is this meme, like don't choose petty issues for a conversation, like wait for a huge conflict. So I mean, it's an ironic meme, of course. Like you should do exactly the
Mhm.
opposite. You should approach each issue at
Yeah.
separately. And so it applies here. Like it's better to talk, but if a person by default does not talk, and the partner is the opposite, like talks all the time, it's a sure way to a conflict.
Well, yes, I think it's just about the discipline again and responsibility of both parties to be able to stop yourself from talking and actually be interested in what the other person has to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which, yes, it's just a question of realizing that and having this discipline. It's not always easy, but I think it is easy when you approach a person as not a how I'm trying to think of like some metaphor, but yeah, like you're not approaching your friend or a partner as something that can just listen to you. You come to the person because you want to know them, to know what they have to say. So you can't come up to them and just talk. Then you can come up to a wall and just talk, or to your cat. The result is going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So when you realize that, you naturally start asking questions and shutting up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. The funny thing is that just yesterday, my girlfriend shared some like troubles that she had been experiencing. Like, I mean, some thoughts that she was thinking about, like about career, about life, and immediately I switched into this kind of coaching mode. Like, okay, so what do you think you should do? What? And I mean, only 5 minutes to 10 minutes later, maybe 15 even, like I was like, wait a second. I didn't get a request to advise, in fact. And I was like, wait a second. So I'm coaching you actually. So should I be just listening? And she was like, haha. And so we didn't, it wasn't like a problem at all, but I was like, wow, I'm again in this pattern. Like I automatically, without even thinking for a second, started counseling.
And how do you feel about that? Like, do you think you should be asking yourself about that more, or you still like you believe that going into counseling or advising mode is still preferable?
Mm,
Like, how what are your afterthoughts on this moment, if I can ask?
yeah, sure. I think that it's not realistic that we will handle these issues now. Like I, so I kind of I acknowledged the existence of these questions, and I understand that I cannot push because the person is pushed enough by life. And so what I can do, the best I can do is just try and be around and help and maybe suggest something when the situation is appropriate for that, and also watch what's going to happen. Like if the person is just sharing, or this sharing entails some actions, so something like that.
Do you apply this for any kind of relationship, or are you mostly thinking about a romantic relationship?
No, I think it's my universal model. Like I never take complaints easily. Let's say I always, because I had a lot of this in the past, and so when a person starts complaining, I acknowledge it. I try to help, but I also watch whether it's just a hobby or it's actually an instrument to articulate and then take some action. So because I think that's the healthy story, and being a teacher, I think a lot influences this a lot. Like I don't believe when a person just complains how difficult grammar is if the person doesn't try to understand the grammar with some actions. So I mean, with some research and studying.
I want to address this a little bit more, but first I saw that there was a message on the chat,
Yes,
which I
yes.
think I couldn't
No,
get the,
it
the
was good.
message.
It was good
Yeah.
game. So sorry for
Okay.
yeah, sorry for being off topic. I would rather discuss the author's art. I'm not sure. Do you mean Nancy's art? Like, have you found her Instagram, or I mean, because Nancy is an artist, and so did you mean that? And on the topic, this is such an individual and diverse topic, in fact, that some people even make money, psychotherapists, and in general, I have been in civil marriage for 8 years, and most importantly, we have common interests. Okay, so individual and diverse topic. Totally agree with that. It has to be like
Yes.
discussed within like each situation separately. Like it's important. It's impossible to work out some general rules here, I think. So my trigger was about discrimination. Like we should not discriminate either social group. And yeah, people make money on solving such problems. They're called psychotherapists and counselors and coaches and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. Yeah.
My idea for discussing that, I mean, it was our idea to discuss that to get it on the stream, but I thought why it would be a good idea to discuss it is mostly because, well, not in my experience of communicating with people, it's not only always obvious that it has to be discussed. In my experience, a lot of communication happens just trying to come up with words, like it happens just as it happens. There is not much of reflecting on stuff, not much of discussing. So, and I became quite a big fan of asking questions, and yeah, that's why I also wanted to discuss it. Going back to
I just want to say that the
sorry.
more I plunge into conscious conversation, conscious dialogue, the more exhausting every act of conversation is, every act of communication is. And
That's quite
the more
yeah.
reluctant I become to participate in any unconscious conversations. Like, no, like I don't understand what's happening here, so thank you very much. But I also become very careful about whether I want to engage or not, because I don't want to engage unconsciously, and to engage consciously, I have to have resources. Otherwise, I'm gonna be shattered afterwards. I'll use all my kind of not backup, like reserved energy, and I won't have enough to start a new day.
There's also the problem of like being able to think, analyze stuff, and sometimes when you're tired or emotional, well, there is no way for objective conversation to happen,
Like
which
last
is always yeah.
last time after our conversation, I was like, next day I was like, no, we have to talk about this right now because I'm so triggered. But I mean, after a week, I'm like, no, I mean, there is no conflict here at all.
Exactly, exactly. I was releasing in our like stream as well, which is obviously not the conversation we're talking about now, but still, I was remembering that day we had this conversation after the stream, and I remember I was like worried, maybe like next day or something, but now I feel nothing at all. I feel like there is no conflict yet, so um and that's also what I've been feeling lately about a lot of my conversations. A week after, a few days after, I'm not even sure. Like I think that I shouldn't have had this conversation. Um, is that beer emoji?
Yes, yes, yes. Cool emojis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Very, very good.
Oh. Yes. Another topic for emoji and emoji,
Mm.
GIF and GIF.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Can we deconstruct emoji to the the full like acronym? Is that acronym? Am I remembering correctly?
Um,
No, abbreviation. Sorry,
abbre-
not acronym.
Abbreviations
Abbreviation.
are like pieces of words, while acronyms are just letters.
So acronym is correct. Yes.
Yeah, like for example, FBI would be an acronym, and
Yeah. So GIF as well.
GIF would be an acronym.
GIF.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Or GIF. Yes.
So yeah, but yeah.
Another big message from the seventh trumpet. Do you see it on Twitch?
Can you please read it
Yeah.
because I can like see in the back bad quality
All right.
on
I
my side of the
think
laptop. Yeah.
I think that in the ideal romantic relationship, you should avoid pragmatics as much as possible, an idea that was generally known in the highly Christian Middle Ages, but has long since disappeared into the background. The knowledge that the world is only a portal and the actual cradle is the grave. Yes, it is the soul that should be our only concern. Love and beauty are infinitely more important than bread and water. Well, it's idealistically speaking, that would be wonderful if we could be guided by our highly spiritual souls. But the reality is that you need to be trained to articulate yourself. And well, first of all, you have to be trained to understand yourself, which is a hell of a task. And a lot of people spend decades to just understand what they are, and then they fail because it's impossible to do alone, and you have to interact, but you have to interact consciously and articulate everything. And I think if you go not pragmatic, it won't add well, it won't end well. That's my opinion. So I unfortunately cannot agree with that. uh, Realistically speaking, idealistically speaking, it sounds really wonderful. Yes.
I can't imagine what's the opposite of pragmatic way of communication.
Hoping that everything will be fixed by, I don't know. I mean, maybe we should wait for the clarification from the seventh trumpet.
Because, well, realistically speaking, if we are communicating like based on emotions and feelings, that's what happens sometimes, and that can be a mess because we are quite different. Idealistically speaking, if we always strive to be the best people and wish the best for each other, then obviously it's a good conversation. But at the same time, it almost feels pragmatic as well, because in pragmatic approach, you also strive to have a productive conversation where both of you get the best out of the conversation as much as you can, which feels kind of idealistic. But yeah, and I wanted to get back to the point of like you mentioned the having those discussions mindfully is quite quite a hard task. It takes a lot of energy. And as well, I feel like sometimes it can be quite annoying for both sides. Like I'm trying to I'm trying to formulate my point, to be honest. Like sometimes you feel quite tired to have a mindful conversation and you don't want to have objective one, or you don't also want to be the one who constantly moves the conversation to the mindful objective one, because that's where you can also feel like a tyrant sometimes. And I'm always afraid of this
Yes.
point. I don't want my friends to come to me and tell me like, well, it's very hard to talk with you sometimes. And I think that happened a few times. And that's like a still, well, that's an open question for me, how to communicate your ideas and your wishes, and how to communicate mindful communication without tyranny, how to promote this idea among the people you talk to, or do you even have to promote it? Maybe you shouldn't, but then you probably won't be able to communicate with people that don't communicate with the same ideas.
I think the second one probably is a more a healthier way, because like
Yeah.
you cannot push that idea onto people. It has to get to be born within. And yeah, it will be tyranny if you push it. So it's like you have to be ready to relinquish the context that, I mean, to give up the context that don't work according to your standards, and probably seek some new ones. And that's the hazard of development, I guess, or the path that you choose. Like if you choose to individualize and become yourself, then probably you will learn that some of your acquaintances and friends choose a different one, not a better one, not a worse one, but just a different one. So, which is fine.
And notice there was a message again.
Yeah, Locke on Good Game wrote, "The path of pragmatism is the only one in general, is the only one in general. Otherwise, we haven't even invented the wheel for a long time. I'm not talking about religions. This is also a product of pragmatists. Sorry. You can go unconscious. That would be, I think, maybe that's the opposite of being pragmatic, where you just go with the flow with your instincts.
Yeah.
But for me, I, as I always say, I worked really hard for more than 10 years to leave that path, to go to articulation, to self-analysis, to reflection, to being able to at least understand something about myself, and to be able to explain that to the others successfully. So that took me many years of my life, and I
How
don't want.
often people, yeah, sorry, I'm
Yeah, I'm
starting to
finished.
speak too fast. How often people told you like you think too much because of this articulation and self-analysis?
My eye
And
twitched.
how often and how often did you actually well doubt it yourself?
So
Maybe you do think too much.
I've heard you think too much so many times that now my eye began twitching just because of your question, because I've heard that more than 100 times. And I can say it as radically as this, as follows. When a person says I think too much, for me it's a red flag. Like, it's a red flag that means that this person will not be in my social environment. At least not on my own accord. Like, not, I won't seek communication with this person from now on.
I sometimes feel like this phrase, like you think too much, depends on the context, obviously,
Okay,
depends on
yeah.
the situation.
Let me add something. So there are people who deeply care about me, and they say like, Andy, you kind of exaggerate some things. So if it is said in a caring tone, like, dude, just relax. I mean, that could be this kind of care expressed. In this case, yes, of course, I'm not triggered, but I mean, I actually take it as a consolation. Like, I'm thankful for that. But what I meant when people kind of like, in this kind of toxic or ironic manner, like, yeah, you think too
When they
much.
start to file a surprise or something, yeah, like
Yeah.
talk about
Like you're
the
too serious for
ideas.
this life. Like, and so that would be what I meant to say.
I'm also sometimes thinking like maybe it's a signal of well our conversation not going as we expected. Like maybe like you have a 5-minute break, you come to the office kitchen and you start this very deep topic, and people are just like they here for a coffee break, and that's also can be sometimes like a signal, like do it chill please, like just tell us about the weather. um, so but I also sometimes I feel like I would rather read it as like, well, you actually don't think much, like but maybe actually try to think. But well, sometimes, yeah, I think it might be as a depends on the situation, obviously, as always, as it always does.
Well, I don't jump on people in cafeterias like, let's talk about this. I mean, if somebody gets interested and we start talking, I don't mind. But I mean, there used to be times I was like in my early 20s where I just had read Solzhenitsyn. I was like jumping on literally everyone. I mean, my friends, and like, let's talk about the monstrosities of this world. And they're like, hey,
How can you not?
enough.
How
Yeah,
can you not?
yes. But that
I
that
mean,
was.
after I read Solzhenitsyn, or after any book that actually gives you any feeling, it's the only thing you feel is right to do, and you feel quite sad about having conversations about weather or any life matters, which is like just like what you had for breakfast. You just want to discuss the hard topics. Yes,
Yeah, and that
understand.
is unfortunately not the way it should be done. So because you have to respect that people are in different modes and conditions and moods. So even the most like the most philanthropic surgeon in the world will have time when he wants to just or she wants to drink beer and watch TV. So it's just very human. You have to wind down.
Oh, that's where you get social cues, obviously. Like when you start talking with your friends and you're like, well, how is your life? Oh, I've read this book. And if you hear them like, oh, tell me more about it, then you tell more. If they're like, okay, and go move on, you're like, okay, yeah, no, probably not the time to discuss it,
Yeah.
or not the person to discuss it with.
So now I know people who I can go to discuss such things usually, and if I'm approached by such a person now, I respect this immensely when a person has a serious topic to discuss with me. But if I'm not in the mood, I say, okay, look, I'm not in the mood now. I don't have energy for that. But if you're really interested, we can schedule a conversation on that day in the future, and so we can come back
I
to that.
actually love this approach. I think we use it a lot with my boyfriend. Like sometimes there is like a topic that is quite heavy or something, or quite interesting, but we're both tired, or either of us is tired, and we just tell like, well, it's an interesting topic. Don't want to talk about it now, so let's talk about it later. Yeah.
So let's see the messages, I guess,
Yes.
because there have been
Yes.
some. So let's begin with good game. There is a great series, Mr. Robot. It's with that actor.
I started watching it. Yeah. Yeah.
What's his name? Pipia
I
actor.
don't remember.
This
What?
Pipia actor. I mean, his face looks like Pipia frog, and
Okay.
he used to be replaced on all memes about Pipia. I mean, so
I have no.
it's a compliment. I mean, he is so cute. But I forgot his name. Damn it!
I just remember him from
What
Twilight.
what
He
what do
was
you mean
a
stop? What do you
Egyptian
mean?
vampire.
He Loki says stop. I mean, he is. What? Spoilers. No spoilers. Okay. No spoilers. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
spoilers. I'm saying about the meme frog. This person has very big problems.
Rami Malek.
Rami
It's
Malek,
in
yes, yes,
the
yes.
yes,
Big
Mr. Robert.
problems communicating with people. I see it so that you have to do something for years. You do it, you're distracted, just have to do what is required. But his condition doesn't allow this, and he invents a different reality for himself and continues to do it one way or another. Okay. And about Twitch, wow, there is a lot of stuff
I
to
like how you
read.
have different laptops, I guess, for chats, right?
I should have. I mean, I have a good game on my phone and Twitch on my laptop. Yeah,
Okay.
by
I
pragmatic,
imagine a picture of 3 laptops, like
that would be
best.
convenient. Yes, yes, but it's too much. I don't want to
Yeah.
have three set up. By pragmatic communication, I mean communication that has a superficial function if it were conversations about career or something like that. The modern idea of a date is cringeworthy to me. It's a glorified job interview. The first thing that goes wrong is the fact that you sit opposite to each other instead of next to each other. It must be the potential couple versus the world, not the man versus the woman. Interesting. What usually follows is a series of superficial questions that do not reveal the other's soul. And above all, let us not regard verbal communication too highly. It is a fraction of the actual invaluable communication. Wait a second. And above all, let us not regard verbal communication too highly. It is a fraction of the actual invaluable communication. And what's also funny, we often imagine what we're looking for in a woman, but we always fall in love with women who have none of these characteristics. Love is something much more profound than many think. I cannot argue with that, to be honest. I mean, okay, so the last three messages are interesting. The one about dates is super interesting because I would even suggest taking this as a topic for next time.
Next time.
Like
I was about to discuss it right now.
I mean, it's to, I mean, the seventh trumpet, you are kind of like, it's really valuable. They're really valuable thoughts that you shared and extremely interesting and well articulated. And I see what you're getting at, and I cannot at least disagree. So, I mean, communication is not only verbal, and it's not confrontation that we should be seeking in men and women. It's kind of partnership and union, of course. And what else you said? That superficial questions do not reveal the other soul. Yeah, of course, relationship builds on many more factors than just answering questions. And I mean, to answer the question, when you answer a question, you are guided by what you think you know, but that can also be false. Like you can be just thinking that you know, but you don't. So I suggest that we discuss it next time, one of next times. So because I want to think about it, and maybe we should set it up, some kind of like a framework for this discussion, like what we're touching, what we're not touching, just not to go too global.
If you want like that, yes, of course.
I paint with a big brush. I like this person. It's wow. Metaphors, long thoughts, spirituality, opposing the what the well-established social protocols and so on and so forth. It's really valuable. I wonder. I want to ask now, the seventh trumpet. Where did you come from? I mean, how did you learn about this stream?
Yeah, I also was curious about the background a
Like
little bit.
maybe we are acquainted actually. So you're from the Netherlands. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well met. Well met. I have a friend in the Netherlands. He's also a streamer. He's an IT specialist. So maybe you had some brief ideas about the messages expressed, just not to suppress what you wanted to say
it's
at
also
all.
like while you were talking, I was also thinking. So I thought maybe yes, I'd rather take some time to think about it to have a more thoughtful opinion and more thoughtful sentences about the topic. But I quite often hear this thing about dates being in interviews, and as much as I understand the frustration about that, I also have some feelings of believing in this approach to the point. Like, not completely a job interview, but some maybe parts of it. Like we kind of still do. We still analyze who is in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many ways to do that, not only through questions. And yeah, I'm always curious when people are like talking about this job interviews type of dates. Are they talking about like dates where you're actually just answering like the questions like where you work, I work here, where do you work, I work here, and that's how the whole conversation goes? Or it's like, where do you work, why do you like it? And it's not like, I don't know, like I'm never bored about the question, where do you work, what do you do for life? But I noticed that, well, in my experience, sometimes people are very bored and very frustrated when you ask them such questions. They don't find them curious. Where I do think that it tells a lot about a person, and the way they react to the question also tells a lot about the person.
So
But
how?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm actually getting into the discussion that you wanted to postpone.
No, I mean we should probably now formulate the topic. So it's something like date as a job interview, like something like that. The phenomenon of job interview dates or something like how could we formulate that? Like modern dates, the problematics there, or
It's quite hard for me to formulate because I'm not sure I'm very much educated on the question. Like I only can speak from my experience, but I'm not sure I know how dates of other people look like. And I wouldn't say I had problematic experience very much in this sense. Like I didn't experience job interview kind of day, so that's also why I'm not very sure I'm supposed to talk about that. Like to talk about that, I would have to analyze it from side at least.
from now on we would be better off posting a vacancy if we're looking for a woman. Then she can send her CV and motivation letter, and if she's lucky, she can come for a job interview. Well, let it be an abstract topic. I mean, we will just start next stream and I'll tell about all this conversation that we are having now with the seventh trumpet about this topic, and then we will unfold it in more detail.
Yeah, let's do that. Like basically how we did it today.
Yeah, because I
Explain how
struggle
it
to
started.
I struggle to formulate the exact
Yeah.
topic, to be honest.
Yes. Yes.
And Loki
I
writes,
agree.
if you define a person by his type of activity, it seems to be like a relative of fascism. I talk to some homeless people, I would not say that they're just stupid bad people. Oh, okay, that's extreme. No, I mean, well, we have to really explain our positions here because I like Nancy's position a lot, and it's not fascism. It's just, I mean, look, we are in a free world. Like, if you don't like this, you don't choose it. If you like this, you choose it. It's as simple as that. So,
Well, what you mean about job or what?
like,
Or
I,
what?
I think he meant like if you judge a person by what he or she does, that's fascism. But we don't judge.
First of all, I
We
haven't said that.
yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
I never said I judge a person by what they do. And like, I can get an idea of like, but only a small part of like what this person is. It's not like you tell me you're an artist and I'm like, okay. And like, well, yeah, obviously it's impossible to do, but also, I don't know, I think it's impossible to operate without some stereotypes, sometimes prejudice, and sometimes experience as well, because especially if you have this experience and you know a lot of people who are in this industry or doing that, or who say these things like you said a few minutes ago, like people who say you think too much in certain situation. Well, you kind of like you can put them in specific folder in your mind, what kind of people, what kind of person in front of you. Obviously, you don't make a 100% judgment like you're done with this person or this person is 100% perfect for you. It only means that I don't know. I think it's kind of like in Sims, but a little bit complicated, more complicated. You know, when you have a discussion in Sims with a person, and you have this like plus signs, minus
Yeah, yeah,
signs.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of the same in life. You hear something and you get this plus or minus signs. Obviously, it's wrong to do that if you just hear a person say like I dislike cats, for example. Well, ask why, and
Mhm.
maybe then ask 5 more times why, and for like I don't know the whole story, and then decide whether it's like a plus thing or minus thing.
Mhm.
But it can be very complicated thing, so it's not that easy to judge as well. It's super complicated to judge, but that's exactly why I love these questions. Like where do you work? What do you do? Why do you like it? Why did you decided to do that? Where you come from? Why did you move here? Why did you stay here? And like that's how you get to know a person. And you also hope that when you ask the questions and they answer them, they actually analyze what they say and they have thought about it without just plain answering whatever first comes to mind. And I love seeing how people think about
Mhm.
the question and answer. Yes.
Well, let me tell
Hopefully that explains.
both
Yeah.
both both to Loki and the Seventh Trumpet. We're not saying that somebody is better or worse. It's very important.
Yes,
We are
obviously.
not saying that. We are saying we are looking for a partner for our little tiny world. So if you just like it's very simple. Like you're not saying that
It's
somebody,
about compatibility.
yeah, like you like it or you don't like it. It's not better or worse. It's about compatibility, as Nancy said. So like I value when people can explain themselves what they think, why they think this way. For me, it's important because I do the same. And I don't want to say that everyone has to do that. And I don't say that everyone must like coffee or smoking a pipe or streaming. I'm not saying that because these are my favorite things. So we live in a free world. And that's what the Seventh Trumpet meant when he wrote "free from God." I wouldn't touch religious topic, to be honest. It's very complicated. We will have to. I mean, there are more, many more professional people than me who can explain things about that. So I want to touch little personal things, like what we feel about our lives.
That's basically our stream. Yes, just
But speaking of
mostly personal experience,
speaking of
I would
homeless
say.
people, by the way, I just on Tuesday, was it on Tuesday? No, on Monday, I think I saved a man from freezing because it was a homeless person and he was. Well, it's a sad story. So we have this guy in the district. He I think he used to have a flat or something, and I found him in the street crawling on the ground and he doesn't have a leg, so it was amputated many years ago, and he was released from some hospital, and he was planning to sleep in the street. And for your understanding, I live in Siberia in Krasnoyarsk, so it was -10 in the street. And it's not very cold, but to spend the night in these conditions, he was planning to get to the hatch, this kind of sewers hatch, because he thought it would be warmer there. So I went to that hatch, and it was not warm enough to spend night there. I bought some products for him and called the ambulance. The ambulance arrived. They called police and they took him somewhere. So
Shelter or
I don't know. I hope there are some ways to find. I mean, he has a brother who lives in a town near Krasnoyarsk, so probably they will contact his. They contacted his brother, and maybe they took him.
How do you know? Like you talk to him?
Yeah. Of course, I talked to him. I tried to call his
Mm-hmm.
brother. I know his name. I know his surname. I gave this information to our mother. She gave me phone of social welfare services. So if I meet him again, I'll probably contact them. But I don't think that his story will end in a good way, unfortunately. But at least he, what's that? Thank you. It was just a direct message, and Good Game has this special beep sound. So I was shocked at his decision to stay overnight in the street. The ambulance lady told me that I should actually let such people inside the entrance, inside the doorway, and let them stay there. And I thought it was a possibility. I mean, if it ever happens again.
I
But
think that's often a like place for a conflict between the inhabitants of the building. Like not all the people will want homeless people, no matter kind of like no matter the conditions of the weather or something. I know that definitely there are going to be people who are like very much against that.
I thought
So
about it actually.
I'm quite surprised that ambulance is suggesting that.
Well, I mean, they probably meant if. I mean, he was cold and he was an amputee, and on his other leg, he lost his fingers this winter due to cold, I guess. He just got frostbitten. So I think they took him because he's actually in a bad condition. So, and I insisted on that fact when I called them, like, because he was actually shaking, and it didn't prevent him from smoking a cigarette, but I couldn't deny him that pleasure. And I hope he wasn't abused at the police station. I hope they didn't take his products, because I mean, why would they? But still. So I thought about my neighbors who could potentially say something to me about me letting in a homeless person, but I actually found that in myself that I would actually argue with them on that matter. Like I would not bulge in that matter. I mean, it's Siberia out there. It's like it's winter. You cannot sleep in the street. It's impossible. It's
I
dangerous.
think it's just it's a moment where when you think about the services exactly like shelters for people who don't have a home, because you never know as well. Like you can argue both ways. Obviously, I'm not arguing for any of them. Like I think we all can understand the dangers of like letting people who don't live in your house into the building or something, and we all understand why you also should do it when there is like winter and it's very cold. So obviously, the obvious solution is to have those services, to have those shelters, to have people who can come and help. But yeah, at the same time, the reality sometimes kicks in, and not always you have a place to yeah.
I was really shaken by
Say
the
so.
fact that he intended to sleep in the street on a sewer's hatch in that
Maybe
temperature.
exactly from the experience of being in the entrances or being. I
Yeah,
don't know.
he didn't want to go to the house because he said he would be kicked out. So probably he had that experience before, had this experience. Also, that hatch used to be hot. I remember because I used to go out of this house and there was like steaming cloud there, but it was years ago. It's no longer hot. It's no longer that hot anymore. So I think he was having vain hopes. Um, yeah, so it was a weird experience, because I think in the morning he would have been found in a much worse condition, if not dead. So yeah, that was strange to realize afterwards. And there is a message from the seventh trumpet. I think I'll become a priest and elevate romanticism to something aesthetic. That will never tell the one that I'm in love with her, but will only write poems about her so that disappointment cannot rob me of the only heavenly feelings on earth. If that fits you, then I only wish you to get what you desire, and also wish you to, careful with what you desire, to be careful with what you desire, both these wishes simultaneously. How much time do we have today, Nancy? What do you think?
Well, I'm not sure I can handle one more hour because my headache starts to kick in again, unfortunately. So yeah, I don't want to get to the very bad point of it. Still wanted to remain fine in the evening to be able to do stuff. So I remember we keep postponing the topic about teaching English and teaching anything basically. How do you feel we should again postpone it? Or do you feel you're up to discuss it for maybe like half an hour or something like that?
Well, to me, this topic has become kind of a plan B topic. Should we have some shorter conversation than we expected? Like, for example, if today's topic had been faster, I mean, it was fast, but it
Yeah.
was not super fast. So we had this kind of backup plan, and we can keep it as a backup topic for next time. I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm slightly tired. I mean, I was tired at the beginning, so I think I'm very tired now, but I think I can talk about it. But we also have your headache as a factor. So we can actually wrap up here. And it was still a decent conversation, and we had a lot of things that we discussed, and we had, thankfully, to our chatters some extra opinions today, which is really appreciated. And actually we have quite a lot of people on Good Game who are passively there and on YouTube and on Twitch. I don't see the number. Yeah, we have some people on Twitch too. But let's do one more thing, as we traditionally do, expectations of next week.
Right. Well, since I'm still on vacation, as I told, it has been like only maybe 50% successful vacation. I haven't been as productive as I wanted to, which also gives me quite an interesting idea what I thought was my problem in doing some extra work, doing some self-development, and I thought it was 8-hour workday. Turns out it's not, since I'm now resting and I have a free day, free time, but I'm still not able to do everything that I planned. Yeah, so I'm trying to analyze it a little bit more. What's the problem? If I'm planning way too many things during the day, or I'm not being like realistic on whatever I want to do, or maybe it's a problem of discipline or whatever. So so the goal is for the next week, for my last week of vacation, is to figure it out. Yes, basically to figure out how to plan better, how to
What's the
come up
issue?
with tasks.
The issue itself.
That's the thing. I mean, like, well,
Like, you have a plan and it doesn't get accomplished.
the whole plan, yes.
Not so it gets accomplished, but not completely.
Yes. Which logically you think like, well, maybe you plan too much and unrealistically. But also sometimes, yes, it's. I think there's also an issue of discipline. Yes.
Can I voice a suggestion here?
Sure.
It's just one thing. So first of all, it definitely is not always about work. I mean, what I learned is, like, you always think like, I'll have a vacation, it will get better. I'll get to a job, it will get better. I'll get a relationship, it will get better. I'll get out of the relationship, it will get better. And it never gets better unless you do certain things, like because it's actually very often in you. Like, I mean, in me, it has often been in me. Like, I did not do certain things, essential things to progress. That's the first thing. The second thing is, So one of my favorite psychologists said, like, if you want to stay in bed being depressed and you don't want to do nothing, well, stay in bed and do nothing. Wait until you actually start wanting something. And
Yeah,
so,
that's. Mhm.
like, what I learned is that, well, maybe I'm just not excited about things I'm trying to do, which is a very simple explanation. Like, so why do I keep working hard? Well, because I'm very excited about my job, about teaching English to people, and I can do that very much, and I do it very much. And I've been doing this for many years without feeling exhausted, and very rarely getting burnt out, but kind of recovering easily after some time. So, well, probably that means that I'm actually very passionate about it. So, streaming is another thing, and some other hobbies of mine, but certain things just don't stay for long, and at certain times everything kind of gets pale, and at that point, well, maybe I need to find some grandiose project, something new, something that will actually drive my passion gears again, which takes a lot of thinking from time to time. And maybe there is something there, although I'm not sure.
I have a few points on that. First of all, yeah, obviously I agree with it's always, I think it's also, it's compilation of all these things. It's very hard to deconstruct. It's very hard to understand what exactly is the issue. Um, Second of all, the passionate thing, I also, like, when you speak about it, I also notice whenever I start drawing or doing like 3D stuff, which is quite interesting. I get lost in it. It's very hard to stop, but that's exactly why it's very hard to start, because I know that once I start, I it's gonna take me hours, and for some reason I don't want to lose hours sometimes. Sometimes it's because I also have other things to do, and I'm like, if I schedule 1 hour of like drawing or 3D modeling or learning something, I know that I'll be sad by the end of the hour. Plus, I'll be rushing because I know that I only have an hour today or 2 hours, and I have to do as much as I can because I'm excited to learn. I want to learn it all, but to learn it all, I have to spend a lot more time. And people say, like, well, small steps every day will help you to ease the anxiety. Does not help to ease the anxiety. Every day, you just like still, you understand how much there is, you still want to learn as much as possible. So like scheduling time for it doesn't help with frustration much. It helps to stay on track, but at the same time, yes, I'm still very frustrated to start. I'm very frustrated to finish, and sometimes I feel like it's easier not to do that at all, because that's how it's gonna get the frustration. So I think that's also the reason why I'll sometimes postpone some of the important stuff I have to do. The point about getting like in bed, if you want to lay in bed. Well, yeah, that's true. And I also noticed sometimes I have these plans that I wrote down myself to do. I have to like organize something, or like answer some questions that bothering me. Sometimes I just postpone doing that, and I sometimes postpone it for like a month or something. And when I finally get to the task, I realize I don't need to do this task actually. Either it's already have been resolved naturally, or sometimes I come to this task and I do it in 5 minutes because now I know how to do it. It depends on the task, depends on the question, depends on whatever it is. But just today I was postponing one thing, like wanted to uh, take notes on some topic, um, to have it, to be able to come back to it. I've been postponing it for months. Today I looked at this topic and I thought, well, I don't need it. Like, I actually don't use it. Or like some of the stuff I naturally learned while working with this tool, and I do it now just like on muscle memory. I don't need that to be written down. So that sometimes that also works, and that's when I think You don't have to, like, sometimes when you can't make yourself do something, maybe it means you shouldn't, because you will either still do it later but easier, because now you will know how to do it. So maybe that's the reason you don't do it right now. You don't know how to do it or why to do it, or you actually don't need it and you won't do it ever, but that's good because you never needed it. So that's, I guess that's maybe like the three questions you should ask about the task. Like, do you need to do it? Do you know how to do it? And what was the other the point? I forgot the points. Do you need to do it? Do you know how to do it? And do you have like the reasons?
The question from the seventh trumpet: why do you want to do something you don't want to do? Well, you can be, so some things are just good for your work or for your personality, for your development. And I would add one more reason: you can be just tired. You might not have enough energy to do that. So, for example, today I finally, after 2 weeks of procrastination, I finally messaged my students that I'm increasing prices, starting effective April 15. So was it, so I didn't want to do that. Why? Did I not want to do it because it was bad for me? No, it's good for me. It's good for my business. But I just was kind of super like anxious. No, okay, not super like anxious about that. And also I tried to understand how to do that properly. And so I invest a lot in my lessons, like emotionally and mentally. And so in the evening, I have other things to attend to, and I also have this message to compose. And while procrastination came, and I was just unable to complete that task, but it was an absolutely important task to do as soon as possible. So I had to do that, and I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to do that also. So, and it's not a paradox. It's just a situation that I had to resolve. So
Yeah, I think there's many different factors always. Doesn't always means that you don't need this thing, that you don't need to do it or whatever. It's a very complicated issue to understand what exactly you need to do and what exactly you want to do. And sometimes the things that you don't want to do is you still have to do them because it's gonna be good for you.
like
And sometimes it's just hard to understand how it's going to be good, or sometimes you're on a different emotional level right now, but exactly to get on a better emotional level, you have to do this thing. Like, for example, if you're like tired, I mean, some type of tired, for which you just need to go outside, have a walk in the park, and you will feel better.
yes.
Being at home in bed, you won't want to do that. You won't want to dress up, get up, go on the street outside. You want to do that. When you're outside, you're like, this is nice. I like it.
It's actually incredible there. Like I'm back. I'm back to life. Like I'm so revitalized by that. Or like
Yes.
shower. I mean, daily
Yes.
challenge. Like before shower, it's like 2 hours. Like, oh my god, shower, and then you go to the shower, and like I'm a reptile. I belong here, and so I won't ever get out.
Yes.
And then you get out and you think, well, I should have taken shower 2 hours ago. Like it is so revivifying. So
Yes.
it's a funny question sometimes what you have to do. And yeah, so if a person does what he wants, if he projects it onto society, this is anarchy, and man must do what he must. I I feel like I'm in some parliament today. I mean, it's just on one side I have some like really like radical points, and whatever I say gets political. It's just
That's
like
internet. That's internet. Welcome.
yeah, it's like strong words are used, like religion, and oh, we have parliamentary agreement. You know, the person agrees with Loki. The seventh trumpet agrees with Loki. It's wonderful that we found consensus that our parliament is not in a shutdown stage. So it warms my heart to see that. But let's kind of dial down. And so, Nancy, have you finished with what you hope to achieve next week?
Yes, yes.
So to kind of sort out
Right.
how to achieve more with your plan, or
Well, how to plan better, I would
how
say,
to plan better.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and well, relax, finish what I planned, and yeah, and finally go out to the park for a
Right.
walk.
Okay. For me, that would be,
Right.
so I did this thing about messaging my people, my students. Then I'll need to talk about this with each of them, and based on that, I'll progress with my strategy, like whether I'll have to find some other business opportunities, or I will understand that I have enough for now, and I'll just think of some ways to take care of my well-being personally. Like, so just I'll keep on doing some business oriented and me oriented tasks. So
Does it correlate anyhow with your Middle Eastern plans?
no, not at this point, because as I'm in a relationship now, I'm not considering going to the Middle East
All right.
currently. Yeah. So because it's not only about me now, so that goes to plan C, something like that.
All right.
Yeah. So, shall we wrap up at this point?
I think, yeah, that's a good point to
Right.
stop.
Then thanks to Otto for opening the chat for today, then to Loki88 on Good Game, and to the Seventh Trumpet on Twitch, who just wrote interesting stream. Have a good one, and God bless you all. Thank you very much. It's much
Thank
appreciated.
you. Yes, thank you for contributing today.
Absolutely, yeah. Those were really meaningful messages from both sides, from Loki and from the Seventh Trumpet. It was
Yes,
such a great contribution.
wonderful.
So do come again, and we shall converse. Maybe not that politically next time, but
Yeah. We
but
have a stream every week at the same time.
yes,
So
yeah. So every Saturday at
no, Thursday.
I'm sorry, every Thursday. Thank you very much. Every Thursday at 7 o'clock Moscow, 7 p.m. 5 o'clock Britain, if that helps, and so on and so forth. We meet here with Nancy and talk about our weekly stuff and reflections and speculations. We have topic for next time. Other than that, I stream The Sims currently. I'm streaming The Sims currently. Probably will jump on other games when I get tired of this wonderful franchise. I didn't talk about politics at all, lol. Of course. Sure, yes. No politics at all. Yeah. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, everyone. We
Thank
shall
you
meet
too.
soon, and
Thank you.
take care. Enjoy your day, and bye bye.